Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. They finally did it. They went and they changed the Komarin map. Patch 9.1, obviously, those of you who've been playing World of Tanks since the patch came out will be aware that there have been substantial changes to this map. But I've still got a load of replays from the old Komarin map, and I thought, you know what, I'll stick them all in one video compilation and get them out there while everybody still remembers what the old Komarin was like and why it was such a terrible, terrible map. This first replay is a tier 10 match. I'm platooned up with Quickie Baby. He's in his WZ111. Just slow down a little there so I don't take my tracks off as I go over the edge. Speed up again. Yeah, bridges are for noobs. Who needs them? I've done another replay, I think it was also in the M46 pattern, in this exact spot here on Kamarin. If you've got a tank that's fast enough to get here early, and anything slower than the M46 generally can't do it. But this position is going to be key to holding this entire flank on this map. Now, there's no artillery in this game, so that's the good news. The bad news is that that T-54 knows the value of this spot as well as I do. So while we're waiting for things to develop, and it's Komarin, it's going to take a long time for things to develop, I'll explain exactly what it is about this map that makes it such a camper's paradise. Now, the obvious reason is that if you're looking at positions like where I am now, if I wanted to break out of cover from here and advance past those buildings, I'm going to have to cross into the open in front of a whole bunch of cover where I know there's going to be a whole bunch of enemy tanks, that they're all going to get the first shot off at me before I can see them. And they're probably going to be hulled down behind the ridge, just in front of the woods, in the top northwest corner as well. That certainly is an issue, but it's not the whole issue. And this Ferdinand here is about to discover. It's the crossfires. If you break cover anywhere on this map, you're not just getting shot at by the tanks hull down and in cover in front of you. You're also getting shot at by the tanks in the side. And it's twice as bad if you're trying to push through the middle here. These guys in the middle, when they're spotted, they're not just having to worry about the tanks that are in front of them, they have to worry about tanks like me on the flank on this side, other tanks on the flank on the other side, that are engaging them in a crossfire. And that is why so many people, when they get this map and they realise, oh my god, I'm in Kamarin, I'm a tier 8 medium in a tier 10 Kamarin match, and they just decide to YOLO and get it all over and done with as quickly as possible so they can get onto a map that they don't hate. Like that T-44 driver there. And I really can't blame him. Another reason why this map was such a camper's paradise is what I'm experiencing right here. I'm in a good spot, I'm locking this flank down, but I cannot move out of this spot at all. I can't advance, I can't retreat. I'm stuck here. It's a good position to be in. Fired through the wall, managed to hit that guy, but it bounced. You know, it's a good position to be in, it's a valuable position to be in. You need somebody here, somebody with a decent gun. And that's the job that I'm doing. But I can't go anywhere from here. I'm completely stuck, completely pinned down. If I try to break cover from here, I'm going to get hit from at least 2 of 3 different directions at once. And again, there were so many different locations like this on this map. Look at all the guys in the middle. Since they arrived in the middle, most of them have moved less than 50 meters. There's just nowhere to go, or there was just nowhere to maneuver on this map, and it badly needed some changes. Komarin used to be the kind of map that punished you if you moved. Once you got into position, you stayed in position, because if you moved, you just got slaughtered. But it rewarded you for staying in those positions as well. As you're going to see here, that I am completely tying down this flank here. There's nobody here but me in a T110E5. They've got 2 tank destroyers in the buildings to my left. Just by virtue of being here, I've locked those 2 guys down into position. They cannot advance any further forward from where they are without getting caught in a crossfire from me on the flank and the T110E5 in front of them. While I'm here, I also have crossfire opportunities at the guys in the middle of the map. So they're pinned down, they can't move forward. The T-54 on the other side of the hill from me, he's my biggest problem because he's proximity detecting me. Another bounce, just to remind those guys that I'm here, and they you know, they shouldn't get complacent about trying to move forward. If we only had artillery, well, you know, it's a good news, bad news situation. If artillery was in this game, I'd be dead already. But by the same token, we can't use artillery to weasel those guys out of that position over in the industrial buildings in front of me there. And we've just got this huge... the entire map is locked down now. Everybody's in their positions. Everybody's waiting for the first person to blink, to try to move forward and get cut down in all of the different crossfires. Like that. And so the way this game tended to develop was that everybody would rush to their favourite camping positions, and then they would wait, and they would take opportunity shots at each other, like that one, whittle each other down to low health, and then when it looked like the enemy tanks were weak enough, they'd take their brave pills, and that's when they would move forward. And it just took all day. It was such a boring map to play on. Well, the good news is the T-54's buggered off. He's gotten bored and frustrated with... because of course all the time he's proximity spotting me here, I'm proximity spotting him there. And the position on the other side of the hill from me isn't quite as good for this kind of work as the spot that I'm in. So he's buggered off, and he's just been killed, so hooray. Now, I am no longer being proximity detected, and the T110E5's moving up. So I'm going to wait for those guys to spot the T110E5, and then I'm going to try and get some flanking shots in on them. And there we go. T110 spotted them. Come on, back up. There you go. That's what we like to see. And as if further examples were needed, Quickie Baby's just died to an AMX 5100. Quickie Baby was in the centre of the map in that big cluster of friendly tanks that have just pinned down there in the middle. AMX 5100 killed him. What AMX 5100? My point exactly. The only enemy tank in the middle of the map is a T110E5. Now the T110E5 isn't shooting anybody, but he's spotting everybody in the middle, and they're getting annihilated by tanks shooting them from the left and the right. The changes that have been made to this map were badly needed. They've filled in a lot of these watery areas. Now they tend to be swampy ground, they're still difficult to manoeuvre through, but you can at least manoeuvre through them, and then lower ground, so it allows you to avoid some of this absolutely lethal crossfire. That is what made this map such a camper's paradise. Punished people who moved and rewarded people who sat in position and just took their shots as and when they appeared. Another perfect example of the sort of thing I'm talking about. There we go. An AMX 5100 just killed our 110. The 110 was in the middle. The AMX 5100 has not yet been spotted this entire game. The T110E5 in the middle of the map is not stupid. He knows he has to just stay alive and keep spotting all the tanks in front of him. The T110E5 is not the threat. But watch how many of our tanks in the middle of the map. There goes another one. AMX 5100 again. The tanks that you can see on this map are not the threat. It's the tanks to the left, the tanks to the right, the tanks that catch you in the crossfire. These are the tanks that kill you. And this is the point. Coming right up there, we've spotted the AMX 5100. I put a shot into him. He now knows he's been detected. He's taking fire. He now breaks position. The T30, which is also putting crossfire into the middle, he's also spotted. As soon as these guys start relocating, that T110E5 in the middle has now lost all of his support. He's in serious trouble. And it's at this point when it actually turns into a game again. Now the guys in the middle are no longer being spotted. They've broken free of the crossfire trap. Finally, and it took this long to do it, despite the numerical advantage that we've held over the enemy team for almost the entire game, because of the way this map was set up, we were just unable to exploit the weight of numbers. We had 2-3 times the number of tanks in the centre of the map that the enemy team had, but we couldn't take advantage of superior weight of numbers because every time those tanks moved, they were getting cut down in the crossfire. Crossfire is no longer a problem. Now we can bring weight of numbers to bear. And you know, I know I'm going to go to hell for saying this. I think probably the worst thing I could say about the old version of this map was that it was the only map in the game that I actually found myself wishing we had artillery on. If we'd had artillery to fire at those tanks in the middle, or to shell those tank destroyers that were on my left, I would have been able to move and maneuver and get forward and spot the guys who were putting the crossfire in on the guys in the middle. All artillery could have, killed the guys like that T110E5 who was in the middle of the map spotting everybody, and the tanks in the middle could have broken out long before now. But because we had no artillery, it's taken this long. 2/3 of the game is gone before we can actually start driving tanks again. Instead of playing Bunker Simulator 2014. And this was why Komarin was such a terrible, terrible map. And I remember actually quite well playing this game on Quickie Baby's live stream. And Quickie Baby's going, "Don't Jingles, stay, don't move, you're doing a good job there." But it's boring. No, it's boring, but you're tying the whole flank down. You're in a valuable position. Stay there. But I want to shoot something. and he was absolutely right. Unfortunately, that is just the kind of shitty, boring, campy play style that this map promoted, and the changes that were made to it couldn't have come fast enough. But I have to admit, I did find it hilarious that Wargaming's ludicrous claim that artillery is in the game to reduce camping. They actually managed to design a map that was so bad that claim was true. So while we're still on the old Komarin, instead of doing what we're supposed to do and have the medium tanks and the tank destroyers tie down the flanks and set up the crossfire, and have the heavy tanks drive into the island in the middle of the map and just take the punishment from the crossfire, instead, let's try flipping that one around. And this time, we're in the heavy tanks, and we're going to take the heavy tanks around the flanks. Now, we started on the opposite end of the map from before. Actually, we haven't. We started in exactly the same position, but we're going around the other side of the map. Myself and Ike's actually the poor brave fool. He's taking his heavy right into the middle, and there's nobody going in there with him other than a T71. Whatever. I'm also in a T110E5, and Quickie Baby is in the mouse. I think this was actually the first night he unlocked the mouse. We played half a dozen games in it, so you could try to get a feel of how the tank works. I do like the T110E5 though. I think it's a fantastic machine. And no, I ain't shooting at that T44. Because I would be seen if I shot at the T44. And it's not the T44 that I'm worried about. It's all the tanks and tank destroyers behind him that I can't see that I'm worried about. But Quickie Baby is moving up, so I take the shot and I advance to back him up. And sure enough, there you go, Object 268. That is why I was in no real rush to give my position away any earlier than I needed to. Far on the move, I have absolutely no interest in slowing down in the open to take a shot at the 268, hug the side of the map, get into cover, IS-8. Fantastic. Difficult to accurately shoot at vehicles through solid cover like that, but I was lucky to not just penetrate and damage the IS-8, but I also blew his tracks off, and from here, side scraping, the only thing he can hit here is my tracks. There we go. You can do that all day, Sonny Jim. I do not care. You are not doing any damage to me. You do have to be careful in a machine like the T110E5 when you're trying to side scrape, however. It is not especially good at it. The side armour is terrible. But if you can eat shots with your tracks like that, well, I just did almost full damage to the IS-8. I took nothing in return. If the IS-8 had been any better, I could have been in trouble, but oh, here we go. An AMX-50B and an Object 268. Okay. Quickie Baby, side scraping there. Takes a full clip from an AMX-50B and numerous direct hits from the Object 268. And he's taken some damage, but any other tank would have been dead by now, and that's the strength of the mouse. Spotted Jagdtiger and a Rheinmetall Balzig over on the left that would have flanking shots at me if I was to stay side scraping against the object and the AMX50B. So I back up, and instead of using the building, I'm going to use the bulk of Quickie Baby's mouse to protect me from those two guys in front, while avoiding flanking fire. Oh, the Jagdtiger's gone, but the Rheinmetall Balzig is still out there. Try and see if I can get a shot at him, but now this IS-3 needs to back up, so I get out of his way. Now, the whole crossfire thing that I was talking about in the previous replay works both ways on Komarin. The tanks in the middle can get cut apart by crossfire from the flanks, but as that Object 268 just found out the hard way, the tanks on the flanks can also get taken apart in crossfires from the tanks in the middle. And you may have noticed that the second the Object 268 died, the T-44 that was there just turned around and hightailed it out of there. Now that tells us that the AMX50B just ran out of friends, and is either unwilling or he's not smart enough to know that he can't stay there anymore. Quickie Baby takes one in the flank from the Rheinmetall Balzig. He keeps moving, he's in a mouse. My machine's slightly faster, so I stopped to take a shot at the Rheinmetall Balzig, but wasn't paying attention to the IS-4 on my flank. He fires, does some damage, takes my tracks out. Quickie Baby covering me from the AMX50B while I get my tracks back up. He's staying there quite deliberately. Tracks back up, get around, covering the side in case the 50B pops out again. And there he is, and there he goes. This T-44 was just having a really, really bad day. His first line of defence collapsed with the 268 and the AMX. He retreated to a second line of defence with the Rheinmetall Balzig. He got killed and he just ran out of places to go. And Ike claims his second kill, again, from the middle of the map. Now this is kind of where Quickie Baby started running into problems with the mouse. It's such a huge target and it's so well armoured. What tends to happen is people will fire their first shot at you, it bounces. People will fire their second shot at you, it bounces. Then they think, screw this, and they load the gold. And he manages to get himself pinned down and tracked in the open, and just penetrated over and over and over again with premium ammunition, mostly from those tank destroyers that we haven't seen yet, camping the woods behind the enemy flag, and of course enemy artillery as well. We've got to deal with that IS-4, however. That IS-4, Ike's moving forward onto his position. He's the guy tying the whole flank down at the moment. And every time he pops up, he's spotting Quickie Baby, and making Quickie Baby a target for all those guys in the woods over at the other side of the map there. Now, bearing in mind the battering that Quickie Baby's taking, I can't actually shoot that IS-4. There we go, Quickie Baby getting hit again and again. I can't actually shoot this IS-4 from here, he's on the other side of that causeway. But what I don't want to do is just pop up over the causeway to shoot at the IS-4, because that's going to expose me to the same kind of battering that Quickie Baby's taking, primarily from machines like the SU-122-54, who's camping in the woods over behind their flag. So instead I move up here. Now that I've broken the cover of the causeway, the IS-4 would have spotted me, but there's a handy rock placed here, and you don't have to travel very far to get that rock between yourself and anybody camping the woods on the other side of the cap. Ike gets the kill on the IS-4, and while the enemy team are all focused on aiming at the guys like Ike who went down into the open ground to kill the IS-4, it's a very, very short trip to get from my first piece of cover, the rock, to the next piece of cover, which is still inside the cap circle, allows you to get hull down and spot anybody who's in the woods over there the second they fire, and check out all the bushes on the top of the ridge. I can actually poke out over the top of this ridge while staying hull down and staying hidden. This is a fantastic spot for people assaulting this cap. But much, much more juicy target over here, 4502B. The T110E5's gun might not have the best alpha damage, but holy shit, it reloads quickly. And we've found a lurver. He has no idea I'm here until I fire, and even then he may not have spotted me. Multiple lines of concealment between me and him. You can see he's looking around trying to see who's spotting him and who's shooting at him. I managed to get his tracks just in time for Ike to pop up on his flank, and Ike's going to finish him off, I think. And then here's the SU-122-54. Now I did get spotted, he took a shot at me, but he missed. Looks like the lurver bounced as well. Fantastic position here. In fact, too good a position, because what I fail to take into account is that I am actually capping. This is inside the cap circle. And I don't realise that I'm actually running up a lot of capture points here. I managed to kill the SU-122-54 and just realised too late that holy shit, we're going to cap. And I try to get out of the cap circle, but too slow. Oops. But more importantly, because we did what we weren't supposed to do, and we took the heavy tanks and pushed aggressively around the flanks, we turned the most boring campfest map in the game into quite an exciting battle. And a decent result, by my standards anyway. 4 kills and 5,000 damage done. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And it was a pretty good platoon performance as well. Despite it only being Quickie Baby's 3rd or 4th game in the mouse, he angled it like a boss, and he took over 11,000 potential damage. Eventually falling victim to a combination of artillery fire and gold ammo being fired from tier 9 tank destroyers, but Ike doing nearly 4,000 damage of his own and over 3,000 spotting damage from the middle of the map in the T110E5. So, that was the old Komarin. This is the new Komarin. This is Mayor993 in the Batchat 25T, and he's playing on the new version of Komarin. Now, initially, he's going to have a bit of a nightmare of a game, and I suspect this is going to be true for most people as they get to grips with the changes that have occurred to the map. He's looking for good spotting positions here while he's loading his gun. The first bush, not good. He got spotted. He takes a hit from the Object 140. It damages his ammo rack. Very nearly ends his game there and there. This looks like a much better position. There's a rock there. It's in kind of low ground. And if those tanks on his flank were the only things he had to worry about, this would have been a very good position. But bang, takes a hit from a T-44 who has not as yet been spotted. He reverses to get out of the line of fire of the T-44, but it's out of the frying pan and straight into the fire. And he has some very, very unlucky shots here against the Super Pershing and this IS-8. The Super Pershing hits him. I'm quite surprised the IS-8 hasn't hit him. He can't stay here. He's too exposed. There goes he's spotted again. The T-44 hits him again. He's got to get out of here. Terrible, terrible start. He's lost half his health, he's done practically no damage to the enemy, he's already expended his first magazine, he's got to get the hell out of here. Now of course all of this patch of ground where he's driving around at the moment used to be open water, you just couldn't manoeuvre through it. So what initially promised to be a decent spotting position turned out to be anything but. Possibly a light tank would be better able to make use of that position. Light tanks after all keep their camo bonus while they're moving, and he got spotted as he was moving into that position. Also, while the Batchat isn't a big tank, it's a bit bigger than most of the light scout tanks that get into these kind of matches. Perhaps a light tank would have been able to make better use of that position than the Batchat. But whichever way you look at it, terrible start to the game. He's lost half his health, he's used a magazine of ammo and done barely any damage. But then things start to look up, fires through the wall and immobilises this T-30, and then every shot he fires into him goes right through the drive wheel, keeps him immobilised. And he bounces a shot from a T-54. His luck has very definitely changed. He didn't even have to use the full clip of ammo to take the T-30 out, but with one shot left there's not a lot you can do in a Batchat. And he's in cover, so no problem. Sits here, goes for a reload, and waits. And then this is, well, just bizarre. That's a Waffenträger Panzer IV. The hell is he doing? He's got balls of steel, I'll give him that much. He's actually leading the charge for the E100 and the Batchat. But you know what they say, if it's stupid and it works, it isn't stupid. But watch what Mayor does here. Watch this, he's actually going to use the Waffenträger as cover from the T-54. You cheeky bastard. Look at this. Well, you know, if the Waffenträger is going to do that, don't stop him. You may as well take advantage of it. I can't believe he just did that. Oh, world of tanks. You're so silly. So that was it was bizarre, but it was amusing. Now, while he's reloading his next magazine, he's going to relocate, and we're going to have a closer look at an area of the map that we sort of skipped over earlier, right at the start of the video. And it's on our side of the causeway that leads from the spawn point to the island, or it's more of a peninsula now, in the middle of the map. Now, all of this ground on our side of the causeway, just in front of us, used to be open water, completely impassable. You can, of course, cross it now. It's not all good news, of course. It is completely bare arse. There is no cover there whatsoever. But you can see there are a bunch of enemy tanks. There's a 1390, I think there's a T-57 Heavy and an IS-4 over there. Waffenträger 4, he's around the bend of the river. He doesn't have shots on us. But all of those guys on the other side of the causeway, even though this is open ground, you can see how you can use the low ground before you get to the causeway to actually cross over here without taking any hits. That Leopard prototype has 608 health. He's just spotted an IS-7 in the middle of the map, but he does manage to make it all the way over there without taking any hits, at least until he runs straight into the Waffenträger 4. Oh well, it was a good effort anyway. Of course, the Waffenträger 4 is now in the water. He's very, very slow, and Mayer is able to punch his ticket, and again goes for another reload, pulls back, and relocates the Batchat. Now, the next thing that Mayer is interested in is relocating that IS-7. There he was, he's just disappeared again. IS-7 in the centre of the map is, he's doing a good spotting job basically. He's the guy who got the Leopard prototype killed. Gave his position away as he crossed that open stretch of ground on our side of the causeway, which allowed the Waffenträger 4 to punch his ticket. He's not loaded yet, it's going to be a few more seconds, and he's very cautiously going to probe this ridgeline, testing his sixth sense, seeing if he can get eyes on that IS-7 again. And there he is. He doesn't have a good shot at him from here, so instead he's going to relocate, come around him, and we're going to explore another new area of the map. And this right here is how that T-44 at the beginning was able to get around on his flank so quickly and catch him in a crossfire. There are now two ways, not just the bridge. There's a ford here you can use to get across the river in the northeast without losing any speed or manoeuvrability. And okay, change of plans, was going to go after the IS-7, E100 just stumbled across another Waffenträger, so instead we're going to punch his ticket. 2 shots left, screw it, reload, and get the hell out of there, get into the low ground, because there is an undetected Jagdpanzer E100 still lurking around here somewhere. It's likely to be over there behind the enemy cap. But let's not take any chances, so I'm going to use this ford again to rapidly relocate, something that the Batchat is incredibly good at doing while it's reloading. Now, speaking of the enemy Jagdpanzer E100, our E100 seemed to have an awful lot more health last time we saw it. And there he goes. There is the Jägeroo. Now, even though Mayer has just reloaded, this would be a terrible shot. The Jagdpanzer E100 was well over 400 meters away, and it was angled at an almost perfect 45 degrees. He would never have penetrated him, so he didn't even bother wasting his ammunition. It's really that IS-7 in the centre of the map who's dominating proceedings here. There we go, he's just spotted Mayer again. He's the one who is spotting everybody trying to come around from the north and turning that whole area into a killing ground for the artillery and the Jagdpanzer E100. So Mayer is basically, he's got a bee in his bonnet now about this IS-7. He's not going to try going around to the right because that would just be foolish. Instead, he's going to try coming around the left-hand side and deal with him from here. He's going to run into a couple of problems, however. First, he's going to try the route that the Leopard prototype took. Now, there's no Waffenträger Panzer IV down here to cause him problems. And you can get up this bank here. However, those anti-tank obstacles were put there for a reason. You can get through them in a heavy tank. And I certainly remember that you used to be able to destroy them by firing high explosive ammunition at them, but you just don't have that kind of ammo to spare in a Batchat. You can actually get around them, but Mayer hasn't quite figured it out yet. He found the IS-7, so mission, sort of accomplished. He tries to reverse up this slope here, and no, it's not going to happen either. He will eventually figure it out, don't worry. Come on, Mayer, you can do it. We have confidence in you. That's it. Now this is going to be risky because there was a T-57 Heavy up there somewhere. But he doesn't get spotted as he comes over. The Death Star, The FV215B183. Look, he tries to make a run up at these obstacles. No, you've got to go around them if you're in a medium or a light tank. Almost. Come on, you can do it. And there it is. Unfortunately, the IS-7 was waiting for him. And he takes a big old hit there, but it's going to cost the IS-7 his life. So, good job. He's got the IS-7 out. And he's got to get the hell out of there, because artillery is not going to take that one sitting down. And there it is. Whoa, he'd stopped just in time. He would have driven right into that shot. That enemy artillery player was good. He timed that just about perfectly. If Mayer hadn't stopped at the last second, he would have driven right into at least the splash damage of that monster 210mm mortar shell. But he didn't, so he lives to tell the tale. Well, anyway, IS-7's dead, so mission accomplished. But just to add insult to injury, after killing the IS-7, the Death Star moves into the middle, and oh look, bloody IS-4's now in the exact same position the IS-7 was in. Oh god. In other news, over on the other side of the map, we've got a pair of Jagdpanzer E100s that are taking absolutely forever to move forward. All they have in front of them is an Object 140, but they think they're playing on the old Komarin. The enemy GWE100 as well, even though he might have done a lot of damage and gotten a lot of kills in this game, geez, he was an arsehole. He's about to get counter-battery fired by our GW Tiger P. And for somebody who loves clicking on tanks on the other side of the map, he doesn't like it when it happens to him. Just you wait and watch his reaction. Now the Death Star moving up into the middle just got a nasty surprise. He thought he was only going to have to deal with an IS-4, but the T-57 Heavy's now moved up there as well. So while Mayer is angling for a shot to try to support him, now that he's reloaded, bang, there we go. Enemy artillery just successfully nailed by the GW Tiger. And he doesn't like it. He really, really doesn't like it. Look at his reaction in chat. And of course, the GW Tiger's all over that. He immediately starts trolling him mercilessly, and he just gets even more mad. Why you have to be mad? It's just a game. I love it. Now, unfortunately, while we were all distracted by the huge crybaby in the enemy GWE100, Mayer just completely wasted his second last clip of ammunition, firing blind at the T-57 Heavy and then missing shots at the Object 140. He now only has 5 shots left. So from here on in, he's going to just try to spot rather than actively engage enemy tanks and save those 5 shots for when he really, really needs them. Enemy tanks are being spotted left, right and centre. These 2 Jagdpanzer E100s have finally moved forward. It's all about to start going down. The Death Star in the middle there. Mayer's looking to support this guy. He's trying to get shots in on that IS-4 and T-57 Heavy. He's going to start asking the Death Star to fall back to give him a better shot at these targets, and that's when he spots the Object 140 making a move. Now he doesn't want to have to waste his ammo on this guy. He's kind of hoping that artillery are going to kill him for him so that he can continue and help the 215B in the middle, but he's been spotted. He's going to have to take the shot. He gets the kill. He's got 4 shots left. The 2 Jagdpanzer E100s have now finally dealt with all of the remaining resistance in the woods behind the enemy spawn. They're now in a perfect position. The 215B is lighting up the guys in the middle, setting them up for a crossfire from the other side of the map, and that's exactly what the 2 Jagdpanzer E100s have done. Of course, now that there's only 1 tank left alive, everybody turns into heroes and they all start falling over themselves in their eagerness to get into the middle of the map and kill him, and the Death Star is having none of that shit. He's like, you guys can all fuck off. This is my kill. I was sitting here in the middle of the map, spotting them, taking the hits. There we go. Justice. He gets him. And they're still trolling the enemy GWE100, who, without the slightest trace of irony, is still complaining about how unfair it is that he got killed by artillery from the other side of the map. So, Kamarin, old and new. I have not yet had the opportunity, other than on the test server, to actually play this new version of Kamarin on the live server. It just hasn't popped up in the map rotation for me yet. What do you guys think of the map? Is it still an abject failure? Or is it better? Or were you one of those bizarre individuals who's probably a Justin Bieber fan and actually liked the original incarnation of Komarin? Let me know in the comments of this video. And as always, take care on that battlefield, and I'll catch you next time.